Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti leolam, oti leolam, veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen l'chaim. It's a good thing it's just grape juice this morning. And to consecrate our study of Torah together this morning, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. This is a Shehechianu moment for me. The first time that I get to lead Torah study here at Beth Am, so that's kind of cool. But this is definitely not my first rodeo here, nor is it with regard to the study of Torah. In fact, I brought some show and tell for you. Because 25 years ago, I bought my first Torah commentator, and it's falling apart. It cannot be, like, I don't even take it out anymore. But this is like this sacred book, literally and figuratively to me, because inside of it are notes, copious notes. You can see notes and handouts that I have been collecting over 25 years since I started here in this minyan. I think it was 25 years ago. So this, in fact, Professor Plout had come here to speak to us at Beth Am way back when, and he signed my book. So it's, it's just like one of those things that you just cherish, and I barely open it anymore because I'm so afraid it's going to fall apart. But I wanted to share that with you this morning to start our time together. So it'll sit up here as a reminder that wherever you are on your journey, this is a good thing. It can lead you to become a rabbi. I mean, who knows? So, this morning we are going to be addressing two portions, a double portion by Yekel Pikude. And we are in this triennial cycle where we are going to be actually closing out the book of Exodus. And if you have been following...
I'm sorry, could you introduce yourself first for some people who haven't met you?
Yes. My name is Rabbi Robin Fisher. My family grew up here. I have 3 children who started off in the preschool and went all the way up through the day school. And we're in Bafti and ... confirmation and B'nai Mitzvah. And my journey, for those of you, many of you know because you're with me on this journey, started here. When I knew nothing, I mean really nothing. I would sit there and I started to come to Torah study with Rabbi Bookman and Minyan, and one day I started leading a prayer and then 2 prayers and then co-leading Minyan, and pretty soon I was leading Minyan and doing everything else from life cycle to teaching, and it led me on this journey of becoming a rabbi. I did not see it coming. It's just something that I was doing. So I'm very blessed. This synagogue, this community who has supported me and carried me through all these years is very sacred to me in so many different ways.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. All right, can we study now? All right, now we're really going to study. Okay, so the Torah, for the second time around, is describing the building of the sanctuary, the Mishkan in the desert. This is one of the most sacred projects in the entire Bible, and we're going to see that we're going to finally get to the completion and construction of this Mishkan, this portable sanctuary that followed the people throughout the desert. I know this is not new to you, but I think that we'll be highlighting some things in this Torah portion that maybe you don't know. I hope so, anyway. And it is said that God's presence would dwell among the people. So up till now, the Torah has devoted over 10 chapters on the details of the building of the Mishkan, the materials and how they were constructing it, who was going to be constructing it. And it started way back in Truma to Tetzaveh to Ki Tisa, and now we are in this double portion of Vayakel Pikudei. So 10 chapters of details out the wazoo. And so these incredible details from the clasps and the curtains and the hanging things and the materials and the raw material, the precious materials that were used, the gold and silver, all of the details that were laid out in this Torah portion. So before we get into the heart of it, why do you think that there's so much attention to the details of the building and the construction and the materials of this Mishkan? What is it about it? Yeah, Michael.
I think because it was the predecessor to the temple itself.
Okay.
And the important things there became very important in the...
Okay, great. Yeah.
Procedurally, do we like to use the microphone for people who are watching at home?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Does that mean you have something to say? Michael? That, when you open your mouth, you're obligated. That's how it works in a committee.
I just said that it was a predecessor to the temple.
Okay, beautiful. Anybody else? Pamela?
I think it was one of the first times that the people really had the opportunity to follow God's instructions in a particular manner and fashion, and to show their determination and dedication to building something so sacred.
Even if it was their second time. They failed miserably the first time, right? Okay, anybody else? Details, think about it. Why? Why do we build detail? Yes, why are we paying so much attention? This is good exercise here.
I think because it reinforced in this telling that it was not just Moses, it was not just Aaron, it was not just the priests, it was each and every current and future member of the congregation that needed to participate actively. It's not, oh, I'll let you do it. I need to weave, I need to carve, I need to help, I need to bring, I need to give. And it starts out that right here, this is the baseline. This is it. A kahila cannot exist with a party of one.
It shows that the details matter, that each behavior has to be done correctly, and that all the way through, in terms of behavior, in terms of everything that's commanded, it has to be done according to what's told.
So I'm hearing, okay, we'll do one more. We may never get through the Torah study.
If God was going to reside there, it had to be perfection.
Beautiful. So I'm hearing a bunch of things. Oh, I don't need this, so I have my own mic. I'm hearing a bunch of things from you. One, God's residing there. It's important. We have to, the divine presence, we got to do what we can. We have to all participate. It's important that we have a sense of responsibility. We each have gifts to bring, and those are so important to the whole that we need to do that. So we're hearing all these things. I think there's also this idea of investment. Like when we when we are in a committee here and we decide we want to participate, we're a sisterhood, right? When somebody says, I'll take charge, you have more of an interest in that matter, in that program, in that event. So all of these things contribute to possible reasons why the Torah has spent so much time describing the sanctuary, this extraordinary amount of materials and details. But if we read carefully, the Torah may teach us something deeper than just the architecture. Beneath all of this lies a question that still matters for us today, and that is, what actually holds a sacred community together? We're not going to answer that quite yet. We're going to let the text and our talk today unfold and answer that question to see if we can come up with something poignant and meaningful to walk away with. But before we enter the book of Exodus, where we are in our parsha, I want to look at the opening verse. Where is this? There you go. For the opening verse not of the parsha of this week, but actually at the very beginning of Vayakel, which is Exodus 35:1. That's your cue. I don't know what page it's on. Is anything?
Okay, yeah. Ready to go? Are you ready?
I'm ready, if you're ready.
Moses then convoked the whole Israelite community and said to them, "These are the things that the Eternal has commanded you to do. On 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the Eternal. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your settlements on the Sabbath day." Moses said further to the whole community of Israelites, "This is what the Eternal has commanded. Take from among your gifts to the Eternal. Everyone whose heart is so moved shall bring them. Gifts for the Eternal, gold, silver, and copper, blue, purple, and crimson yarns, fine linen, and goat's hair."
Okay, let's stop right there, because I want to really focus on the first line. What does it say at the very beginning? Moses
Then convoked.
Or Moses gathered. You'll see that I wrote the word, which is actually the name of our Torah portion, Vayakel. Okay, and if you look at the word really closely, if anybody speaks Hebrew, you will also see that this word here, does anybody know what this means? Kahal. What is kahal? A community. So what we see in gathering together is actually a community or congregation. So what does this tell us? Yes, Richard. In order to be a congregation, we have to be together. In order to build anything sacred, we have to come together. We have to be a community. And so that's hinted at in Vayakel, this gathering of people. So, question, why might the Torah begin the story of the Mishkan by telling us that Moses gathered the people? Let's talk about the different things that are involved in building something sacred like the Mishkan. What is it about the people that is going to make this project move forward? Oh, I've got to do this. I have to be runner and teacher? Oh, we can pass. Good.
what's important is that this is post-golden calf. This is where those that urged Aaron unto creating the idol and that disaster now need to be brought back. They need to become, again, part of the community. So it's vitally important because without everybody buying in, participating, this will not succeed. And then God will do what God initially planned. If you remember what he said to Moses, like, I'll get rid of everybody and start over with you. And Moses said no. So it's vitally, vitally important. And it's always been important to us. We cannot be Jews alone. We need to be Jews together.
Beautiful. See, I have to come and get it anyway. Oh, I might say that there is another one here. See, I'm going to get this. Okay. It's working.
It's almost as an aside, but it's so important. You shall not work on the Sabbath day. I mean, that's just a quick reference.
Let's hold the Sabbath day for a moment. Let's just talk about why the people are gathered. What is it about the people that is necessary for the building of the Mishkan? Because you're right about the Shabbat. We are going to get to that.
I think that it's a matter of priorities, that this was a top priority for God. You know, each time the Jews have turned against one another, or there's been dissension among the Jews, we've had major losses, and we've lost our way for a period of time. And I think that by prioritizing community, God is saying, this is number one. You must stay together. So this is the way of doing it. And I think it's called skin in the game. They wanted them to be actually participating with God. Up until now, Moses has been really the only one that has had contact with God. And everything's been a message, do this, do that. But God then resided in a cloud near the people. They were getting closer and closer to God by doing these things. And I think as a community, they became closer as well.
Beautiful.
And he had to gather all of them together because they all had to participate. Everybody had to give toward half a shekel or whatever it was, so they all were participating in it.
But something else occurs to me. They all witnessed the golden calf, and they saw the punishment for some. Now they all have to step up and participate.
Right, so there's something about this new building that is a tikkun, or a repair, of the work that was done before that was not kosher. That was not good according to God, because it was the golden calf, idol worshiping, and such. And so to come together with the same vision, with the same sacred purpose of building a sacred place that was that's approved by God, is the focus here. Is that we all came together, we were all required, we all were on the same page, we all had to build together this sacred space so that God could dwell within it. Good? Okay. So before sacred space exists, we have to bring community together. And answering the question of why the Mishkan exists altogether, the Midrash looks at that with the next text, which is Midrash Tanhuma. And I will have you do this.
You'll have to help me with the Hebrew. I'll let Ken do it.
Read the English.
I'll read the English. The Holy One desired to have a dwelling place in the lower world.
Okay, so what does this tell us? That God wanted this place in the lower world. And so the people had to come together so that they could see that it was important that God wanted this place and we need to be present. We need to do this for the Holy One. Blessed be God. Right?
Well,
Okay.
There's a partnership too now. All of a sudden, we have God on high and the people down below, and there's a partnership now in this.
There is a partnership, yes. And it's as if we're a place where heaven and earth kiss. I love that phrase, you know, where we can bring the sacred into the earthly realm. And was there somebody else who needed to? Yes. You got a mic.
We have to, thanks, I know I'll bring it. We have to remember that it wasn't that long ago that they crossed the Red Sea as slaves, and they had the slave mentality of Egyptian slaves. In order to create a community, they had to learn to work together. God didn't need a place to be. God was all over. God was omnipotent. This created an objective and formed a community out of assigning tasks to build the holy structure, the portable structure. This is God's chosen people. This was their task, and he or her were so definitive as to how it was to be built that they forged themselves into a community to build it.
Beautiful. So there's this, saying in Hebrew, elu ve'elu, it's both. It's not only that God recognizes the people needed a place where they could access God, but also that, as we see in this midrash, the rabbis are imagining that God also needed it too. Maybe because of the partnership, that's how we accomplish and heal the world is through our partnership with God and people. God needs the people, and people need God as well. Yes. Does somebody have the pass back?
I think that also this, to some degree, cuts the intermediary, because the problem is with the golden calf was that Moses was absent, and the people got desperate and needed something like a leader, something to look at, because Moses wasn't there. This, to some degree, builds this connection directly between God and the people by creating a Mishkan that each of them are doing, and also where they can relate to, that they can see. So to some degree, it brings them closer also by not relying on this messenger in the middle.
Right. We had to own it ourselves and take it into our hands to do. Beautiful. Okay, so something interesting happens in the Torah. Before it begins describing the building of the Mishkan, Moses introduces another commandment. Here we come with the Shabbat. Here, Exodus 35:2. Who wants to read? Where are we? Are we missing the microphone? Pass that forward, please. There we go. Let's read this.
Okay. On 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout the settlements.
So just the 6 days of one line. 6 days, work shall be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a holy day, a Sabbath of complete rest to the Lord. This is before we learn about the materials, before we learn about the construction, who's doing what. We've gathered people together, and now, before we even start, we're going to talk about Shabbat. What's going on here? Why do we have to introduce Shabbat right here before the Torah turns to the building of the Mishkan? Ed.
Well, there is fear that the enthusiasm for the project will overcome the observance of Shabbat. So
because it's for God, right?
It's for God, exactly.
And they're going to just be so overzealous with their work that they're going to...
And even or especially if you're working for God, you have to keep Shabbat in mind.
Beautiful. Anybody else? Oh, we got lots. Pass back, please, Michael.
There's also the construction of this phrase in the Hebrew, Ta'aseh Melacha, the idea that the work portion of the week is passive. I mean, it reads a little strange in my stone. Work may be done, work is done. That part's passive, but the observance of Shabbos is the active portion of the construction. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Yes, back behind you.
Rabbi Sachs says in one of his interpretations that the Shabbat actually builds community. It's part of this kehila because you are working and grinding every day, and you need that space in the week to actually gather meaningfully.
I love that. Beautiful. So that seems to naturally flow from gathering people together. To be a people, to be that cohesive force, we need to have Shabbat first. What else? Anything else? Come on, you guys. Think about this. Shabbat. What happened? What did they just come from? What were they just building? The golden calf. So what is Shabbat? It's saying, let's pause here. Did anybody do any mindfulness meditation? You gotta just be in the moment. Let's focus on our intention here. Let's regroup, have some renewal and perspective on what we're about to build. Shabbat comes so that we can do that. What else?
Yeah, and I think Shabbat will set the Jewish people apart from other people. So it's the one thing, everybody works and everybody has a job and everybody does something. But it's the one time when Jews all over the world will do this one thing together that separates them from other people.
And why is that important that we do that right before we build the sanctuary?
So we focus.
So we can focus, so we know that we're all together.
Right. And it gives us a chance to reshuffle our priorities, to reorganize on a particular day at a time, to remind ourselves. When you're doing a project, sometimes you get so involved in the project, you forget what the project is about. And so Shabbat gives also the people a chance to regroup.
One other thing occurs to me is that these are people who were slaves originally. They worked 7 days a week. There was no break for them. So to have the Sabbath day, to have a day of rest, a day where they could do something other than work, was very important.
I can buy that after we've had a week of work, but think about this, before they even start, they're having to observe Shabbat. Yes. Wait, let me just send this back to Richard since he hasn't spoken, and I'll come back to you.
In the gap there, I have a couple of parallel thoughts. The first was, I don't know who the rabbi was, but they said that among the reasons the Jews survived Egypt was that they kept the Shabbat. And then from that, I don't know who the rabbi was that says more that the Jews kept the Shabbat. Shabbat has kept the Jews. And so kind of in a prophetic way, this is the parallel thought. We're building a tabernacle, which is God's place among us, but I think history's demonstrated we will not always have a tabernacle. But each in our own way can always have a Shabbat.
Beautiful.
So,
beautiful. Will you pass that to over there?
Thank you. I have a question. If this is so important, why don't we all try to replicate it in every temple that we build?
The Mishkan?
Yes.
In our own time, this was something portable that was through the desert. We are now in a different age, and we don't live in the desert, and we're not nomads. We have our homes that we're rooting ourselves in community, and the way that we root in community is to build, to bring people in, Our president can talk about the importance of having space, otherwise we wouldn't have a campaign and be able to pay our bills and bring people here and have all the beautiful programs and events that we have.
So these very specific details are not relevant.
So maybe the detail, you're bringing up a good point, your light's on. You bring up a good point that maybe the details are less important than the time that we spend in Shabbat and building relationships.
We have
And
some of the remnants of those things and what we do with the Torah cover and some of the other things.
we do, we do. Yes, Michael. Stuart.
I think it comes down to perspective and context. You know, if all of these artists and people are contributing and working their hardest, there has to be some element of not necessarily competition, because God's trying to push them to work together. But there is a loss of perspective. You get so tied up in the work. So I think that what God is intending is that we think, that we put this in context. This is not all about work. It's about coming closer to God and being close as a community. So you need that time to step back and look at what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right, it's how we started. Okay, we'll take one more. It's how we started, that we needed that perspective, that intention, and that Shabbat allows us to have, so that we know when we can think and focus on the significance of what we're building.
Yeah, I think there's, all these theological consideration for Shabbat, but there's a very practical consideration. There are in this time when it was written, there are no newspapers, no television, no radio. How do you get the message out? How do you organize the people? How do you get them all together to give them the message to march in a singular direction? It has to be by assembly and by oral communication.
I love that. All right. Is it burning?
Yeah, just an answer to Marlene's question.
Hold on.
I think Marlene's question is a really good one, but I think we also have to put this, look at the time period. They were building this to be able to have a place to sacrifice animals and to do the things that were done at that point in time. We no longer sacrifice animals. We have eliminated a lot of the stuff that would otherwise have been necessary, but we have the symbols of a lot of these things in our current constructions. I mean, if you look around and you look at the details of things here, a lot of that same stuff is symbolic of what we read about here. But it's a totally
Even
different
the crowns
time.
on our Torah.
How we worship is
of
different.
course, of course. So we're recognizing the significance of sacred time and the ability to pause and have intention about what we're building. So after establishing this rhythm of sacred time, the Torah then turns to the work of building the Mishkan itself. But what is striking about this is that it is not built, as we've mentioned before, by Moses alone, but by the community, by a group of people. The entire community becomes involved in this sacred project. Some bring materials, some bring skills, some bring craftsmanship, some are the organizers, the managers. It becomes this shared sacred undertaking, something created through the participation of the entire community. And so, why might it matter that the Mishkan was built through the participation of the entire people? All of the people. Is there a microphone around here? Next to you. Again, yeah.
I think that we're just coming out of the building of the golden calf, and there's a realization that the people need something concrete to be a part of, to work for, so that they can worship. Mm-hmm. And so the Mishkan provides something more concrete for people to latch on to in their growth and evolution as a Jewish people. And everybody has to be involved in that so that we can build a community and build a people as opposed to a dispersed individuals.
So a sense of shared ownership,
Yeah, and nothing like
shared enterprise.
with all the programs that we do here, the main purpose is for everybody to have a stake in it.
Everyone has to have a stake in
come
it. Everyone
together
invested.
and have a task
Okay.
and have an involvement.
Pass it to Sherry.
I just thought of this one. It's not for the people there. It's for someone like me, because it's connection between us now to the people there. Because if they didn't take that time and energy and devotion, it could have all fallen apart. And because they did that, we're still here today.
We stand on the shoulders of those who come before us.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Spoken like a true leader. Anybody else? Let me have a microphone. Where's the mic? Right here. Yes, my lovely.
I just love what everybody said about everybody feeling part of it and everybody feeling they have a stake in it. So there are many more efficient ways to do it without everybody bringing whatever they bring to the table, but then everybody doesn't come along together. And I think the coming along together in whatever little or large contribution each and every one of us makes us all feel a part of it and have skin in the game, and then feel the pride, the sadness, the joy, all the emotions, all the things together.
Which really speaks to also the sense of responsibility that we all feel or should feel or need to feel in order to create a sacred space. Because if half the congregation decides, they're not in, or they're going to let it pass it to somebody else to do, then it's not going to have the same richness. It's not going to have the gifts that are particular to Laura Kofsky, for example. That if you decided not to participate, then those gifts are missing from this beautiful sacred space, right? So we can't forget that is also part of it. Yeah, Stuart. Sorry, I can't do this.
Do you think there might be an element? Do you think there might be an element of expiation in all of this?
Element
Guilt
of what?
over the golden calf episode, and to some extent, this was a way of feeling good about yourself and working back into, the whole community. I mean, I don't know whether that would still be retained, whether some people would find this a vehicle for becoming part again.
There's a reason why things are commanded. You may not feel it in the moment, but too bad. You have to do it because that's how we create beautiful, wonderful things. That's how we follow God's laws, is by being commanded. If we only did it when we felt moved to do so, we may never do it. We may never get around to it. Even as well-intentioned as we all are, and we would all follow all the commandments, but we may not. Some might not.
So to follow along with what Sherry had said, that it not only was built, all the information to build a mishkan in the desert, but it was a view of the first and second temple, of what needed to be done and how it should look and what it should do. And then moving forward.
Beautiful. So, what we have so far that we have established is that this kahal, this vayakel, this mishkan, establishes something important before the mishkan is ever completed. We have, I'll put this over here, a community gathered. Okay, one, community gathered. Second, there was a rhythm of sacred time. And the people engaged in shared sacred work, okay? Sense of responsibility. God, I have the worst handwriting. Anyway, got that, right? Now, we are going to move into Pikudei, the second parsha that is assigned to this, because I think that it will close up the gap and allow us to see something important. So, what do we see in Pikudei? In which we'll get to this. I promise we'll be reading. But in Pikudei, after all of the constructing of the Mishkan, all the details are together, all of the building is completed, then Moses turns and does an accounting of all the materials that went into this sacred space. Thousands of pieces, materials and parts and all of that went into that. Gold and silver and copper, everything is counted meticulously. Why do you think we need to do that? Why did the Torah include such a careful accounting of all of the pieces that just went into the building of this, and who knows how long it took? It was a huge project. Yes. Wait, microphone.
I think that it is needed for accountability because it shows transparency and primarily accountability of how resources are used. And there are many commentators that talk about leadership and how you need to account and how you need to build trust by being transparent.
Beautiful. So we talked about, you said about trust and about
accountability and transparency.
Anybody else?
I think it also is important that each of the people that had participated in this realize not just what they had done in their section, but what everyone had done, what the total community had done, and how much of it was done. It wasn't just, okay, I'm a weaver and I'm weaving something, or I'm a carver and I'm carving something. It was everybody's small task added together made something much more and much unconceivable to them at the time, because they're focusing in on what they're doing and how they are participating. And yet, it was everybody's actions. The small were as important as the large, because without the small, you don't get to the large.
Beautiful.
And then it has to be all put together. And the irony is, of course, that who puts it together? One person. So it all builds up so that one person can do what that needs to be done.
Beautiful. So this accountability doesn't only just go from the trust and accountability of the leaders, but also recognizing how much went into this and to allow the people to be proud of what was contributed. Aaron will attest to this in Federation. At a board meeting or at any event, we'll always talk about how many gifts were raised and how much money was raised. Because it's important, it makes us feel good that we were part of that enterprise that raised that money, and that it wasn't just how much money, it was also how many gifts. And then I think that's an important point that you brought out. So thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so the rabbis imagine what it might have been like for Moses counting all of those details. And I love this is a paraphrase reading. Who's our next reader? Kenya, now that you took a bite of bagel? Are you the next reader? Sure. Who's got the mic? It is text 4, Midrash Tanhuma. Dramatic.
After the Mishkan is completed, Moses begins to calculate the silver that had been donated in the accounting of the Mishkan's materials. And suddenly, he becomes worried. The numbers do not seem to add up. A large amount of silver, 1,775 shekels, appears to be missing. The people might wonder, where did the silver go? Had something been overlooked? Had Moses made an error?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We're going to go roll right into Exodus 38:28. Because it's going to tell us quietly where the silver went. Where'd the silver go?
And from the 1,775, he made hooks for the pillars, covered their tops.
Okay, stop. He made, as it says in Plout, hooks. In Hebrew, they're vavim. Okay, vavim. Now, vavim, it can be translated as many different things, but what do you think these are? What are these things that are meant, that are counted here, that are 1,775 of them? What are they?
They're clasps to hold the pillars together, connecting them, and also making a beautiful design so that we can be connected and create beauty at the same time.
Beautiful. So here, connectors holding the whole structure up, that they're allow beauty to be brought forth and created. Anything else? That's what they were. They were fasteners. They were connectors. They were often not seen, and they were hidden because you don't often see the work underneath the materials and in between the poles. You don't see them. So it would be easy to overlook 1,775 of them. But because we don't see them doesn't mean that they aren't vital to the structure of what we're building, right? That they may have been invisible, but they were vital and they were really strong and they demanded to be counted, just like the big boards and the materials and the, those bigger pieces, they needed to be counted. And they were obviously big and important part of the building of the Mishkan, but no less so, and maybe even more so, were the vavim, these connectors. And you'll see that if you can read Hebrew at all, this here is the letter Vav. The letter Vav in Hebrew is a connector word. It means and. So we have the word and, they have a letter Vav. So if you want to say and something, you always put a Vav in front of it. So it connects phrases, it connects words. And so no less, we have now vavim, that's the plural, vavim that are the plural of, vavim that were the connectors of the Mishkan and putting all the pieces together. And we also have vavim that are within the language of the Hebrew language, connectors of words and phrases. So very similar in their work that they do. And so the commentators note how important this is. And we're going to start by looking at what it might teach us with Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's commentary. Marlene, do you want to read? No. It's text number 6.
One who separates himself from the community, even if he commits no sin, but removes himself from the community of Israel and does not share in its life, has no share in the world to come.
What are you reading?
Text 6. Notes that, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's commentary notes that the Vavim join the pillars and curtains so that the entire Mishkan functioned together as a unified whole.
Okay, what's the key phrase? Unified whole.
Unified whole.
That it all functioned together in a unified whole. That the Vavim were that allowed them to be a unified whole. So even the most magnificent sanctuary depended on these elements that connected everything together. So it wasn't sustained only by its great beams, but also by these little pieces, these little connectors that held everything together. Richard.
In discussing the utensils, there are some of those that have to be hammered out of a single block. And I feel the connection here as well, it's in the great and in the small that has to have this unified whole in order for this to work.
Yeah, well, the silversmiths, you know, that was their gift that they brought to it, so no less important for them. And what that contributed to the rituals that were being done in the Mishkan or in the sanctuary. So, Jewish communities are not so different. We also have vavim, connectors, people who keep us all together, keep people who may even be invisible, I might say, or behind the scenes, but are just as important to the whole. Who do you think the vavim are in our community? Wait a minute, you know how it works.
Okay. As a sisterhood president, when I have an event, this honestly, when I have an event, I look at it two ways. I look at it how the people who come and what they enjoyed. And then I look at the people who did it. So for me, the community is the people who put on the events. Those are the connectors, because they're the ones who made the other people feel good and at the community.
Great, so we have leaders that actually step forward to make.
But they're not necessarily leaders, they're just the volunteers who have a heart in it.
Okay.
And then that's what they want to do, and makes everybody else feel connected.
Semantics, that they're people who step forward, we generally think of as leading the way. Okay, anything else? Who else are vavim in our community? Who are the connectors that make clergy? Thank you. What? Gabbis, yes, thank you so much. Lal?
Richard and I were debating if it's Joe's or John's, but when you pull in the gate, I mean, he is impression number one.
Who is?
Joe's.
Security guard.
Oh, Joe's, yes.
Parents who bring their children to school, Sunday school. religious.
Parents, yes. And how about the grandparents? As a new grandparent, I can tell you that that's pretty important in the life of your grandchildren. Yes? Chevre Kadisha. Great. Who else? Who are teaching our children? Our teachers, right? So we can look at so many different things. Shelley, what about our board members? And our officers, but also, you know, just the board members, just.
Absolutely, the board members, and each one of them bringing their individual talents and treasures to the table to be able to help to build this community. Absolutely.
And would you say that everybody who sits on the board has a different gift, has a different talent, as something that you want to try to tap into? So you have meetings with them, and like one-on-ones to say, you know, what are your interests? What are your passions? What are you good at? What do you want to do? And then you find out that they have something that they can contribute to the whole that the person next to them didn't have. And that's a good leader, right?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, good.
No, seriously, that's why each one on the board has a portfolio or they're involved in a committee. Everybody has their passion, and you do best what it is that you're passionate about, and so they bring that to the table. It's definitely an important piece of the involvement in the synagogue.
Beautiful. So while we're on that, unless you want to do that, Michael, is read text number 7, Shavuot 39a. It'll lead right into this idea. Oh, we're on. Okay, go ahead.
All Israel responsible for one another.
Right, because we all have this enterprise that we're building, whatever it is. But we'll talk about Jewish community for the moment, that unless everybody participates, we don't have the numbers behind us to build our dreams, and we also don't have the people that have the talent and the gifts that only they have to build what we need to build, to make that dream come true, to make the vision of Rabbi Barris come to fruition. We need everybody's involvement. And it takes time. It takes to nurture that and to find and to inspire people that they do have something to contribute and that their gifts are just as important and that they are responsible. If they want to build something that is special and sacred, just like the Israelites did with building the Mishkan, then they also needed to contribute. All of us. Nobody can take a buy and say, look at how many people are doing it. They're the ones that have the money. They're the ones that have the time. But no, everyone has the capacity and everyone has must have the time to build it. If we're going to make it even more sacred, even more special, even more thriving, then it takes all of us to do so. So Jewish life depends on mutual responsibility. And the classical tradition makes this point even more sharply. If you would like to read the next one, Rambam, Mishnah Torah, Hilchot Teshuvah.
One who separates himself from the community, even if he commits no sin, but removes himself from the community of Israel and does not share in its life, has no share in the world to come.
So what's he emphasizing here? What does it mean, does not share in his life?
Well, since I have the mic.
Guess what that means?
Our tradition has always discouraged asceticism. At the time of the Torah, and certainly at the time when Rambam was writing this. So the emphasis in this entire passage is to remind us that individualism for its own sake, of the type that would send us up to a mountain to meditate alone for 3 weeks, is not a positive thing for the growth of our community.
Correct. So it's not just there are different components to this. There's the spiritual realm, the religious end, that we can't pray without at least 10 people, but we also can't come together and create sacred space, do sacred events, sacred programming. And I'm not using that loosely because there is something very different about how we gather here versus than in a park, so to speak. There's something that is elevated here. People expect to feel something different here. And that could be the connections that we form, right? So we cannot separate ourselves from community for so many reasons, right? So that if we do so, it's not only that you've sinned, we can't build it. We can't do it. It can't be what it's intended to be. Belonging matters. Responsibility is something we inherit. We have no choice. We're not given a choice. We're commanded. It's a mitzvah. I was just teaching, where's Abby's mom? So I was just teaching my 6th grade class in preparation for their bar mitzvah. What's a mitzvah? You don't have a choice here. This is a commandment because, like I think we mentioned it earlier, because if we did leave it to somebody's choice, we may not do it. But we're commanded to go visit somebody who's sick. We're commanded to light candles. We're commanded to go to mitzvah day on Sunday and give to our community. Right? Because if we didn't, it's so much easier to sleep in. I mean, I'm tired after the week. I want to sit home, just put my feet up for a moment. But no, there's something compelling me to go. There's my responsibility to community. There's also my responsibility to show up and be part of a community, to feel like I belong. And I can't belong if I don't show up. Okay. So, Jewish mysticism expresses this in a similar way. And we'll see this in the Zohar. Stuart, are we on you? The Zohar. Let's see what they say.
The Holy One dwells only in a place that is whole.
Okay, so in the Zoharic text, wholeness is described as something that is complete and unified. So if we see the Holy One dwells only in a place that's complete and unified, we're all in the same place. We're on the same page. We're all building towards the same vision. There's no sinat chinam, no hatred among the community. We're not divided. Can you imagine? Then God dwells. So we have to strive for that. We have to work for that according to the Zohar tradition. That this is something that is part of who we are, and that is what the Mishkan is representing, that sense of wholeness and unity, because they were all on the same page and all focused on building, especially post Golden Calf, something that really represented God's interests.
It makes me think and brings it to today, how the Jewish community is divided among themselves about issues of anti-Semitism and in support of Israel and all that. And this really shakes me to think that,
right,
because that is happening in our contemporary lives, that God may not be able to dwell among us at a time when we need the holy presence that much more to help us come together somehow.
I fear that that's probably the way it's always been. That we need to, the temples were destroyed because of sinat chinam also, and but it's what we need to strive for, and set that bar high.
But we are as a community. The terrible thing that happened Thursday came together as a community to a lot of people. And not just in West Bloomfield, Michigan, but here, in any place that it was touched. The congregation had 3,000 families, and that's 3,000 families now. You don't know how many people I've looked on Facebook that have had family members who are members of that temple and stuff like that. And it brought together so many people. Same thing happened with the Tree of Life. Same thing happened in San Diego. So when things like that happen, it brings the community of the Jewish people together.
Yeah, maybe not just in tragedy. I'd like to think that we don't need tragedy to bring us together. But certainly we did come together, and we can focus more on the positive and what did happen positively than yeah.
You know, I think that it's important to distinguish between thoughtful disagreement and pondering questions and having different views, etc., from those things that pull us apart. I think as a people, we are a people of questions. 3 Jews, 4 opinions. And I think that has always been and is part of our culture and needs to be accepted. We need to distinguish, though, where it starts to pull our people apart.
Yeah.
And we're working for different ends.
Yeah, somebody outside of our community could think we're fighting. We're just disagreeing in a sacred way that allows us to allow truth to surface and new meanings and perspectives to unfold. So, sure, I agree. Any other comments before we? Yeah, Laura. Sorry, does anybody have a mic? We can. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say my son is very good friends from college with the family at Temple Israel, and the mother is the past president. So I reached out to her, and I'm not going to read the text, but it was so meaningful, and in light of the study today, she said, like our synagogue, and she knows how much we love our Beth Am, she said, we are built and we shine at moments like that. And she said they were prepared and they were so proud. They were speechless and heartbroken, but they were also so proud and so strong and embraced by their entire community. So in light of everything you've said today, there is meaning behind the collective and coming together and being there for each other. And she made it sound like they're not going to miss a beat. She said they're really going forward, and they feel everybody's strength, so.
By the way, Cantor Smolash is from that synagogue as well. Okay. Burning?
Just to follow up
Okay.
on what Stuart was saying about different opinions, it's just like in the Gemara, with all the different opinions, and it gets resolved over time with the Tosafot and Joseph
God
Caro
willing.
and Shulchan Aruch, and you come up with a consensus of, but you have different opinions.
Great. So, in this last section, it was only when the work was completed, when the structure became whole, when everybody was unified in their vision, in their work, in their sense of responsibility, of giving of themselves, did the Mishkan get built, and that where everything came together and we became unified. But the Mishkan was a sanctuary that existed in space. It was a physical structure. And later Jewish tradition asked another question, and that question is, where does holiness dwell when there's no physical space, when there's no physical sanctuary? And we have our famous Abraham Joshua Heschel in text 11. Who's next on that? Diane, are you? Here, give that to her.
The Shabbats are our great cathedrals, a palace in time.
I've always loved that. So the Mishkan created the sanctuary in space, and Shabbat creates a sanctuary in time. A sacred structure that the Jewish people rebuild again and again, each week and in each generation. And just like the Mishkan, this sanctuary in time also depends on Vavim, on the connectors. Sometimes we see those connectors more vividly than others. Sometimes they're in the simple moments in Jewish life that are passed from one generation to the next. And I recently discovered or had revealed to me something really special when I was FaceTiming with my 3-year-old grandson, Max. And it was on Shabbat. And it came time for the prayers, and all of a sudden we start lighting the candles, and he puts his hands on his face to recite the blessing over the candles. And then he picks up the grape juice, and the entire Kiddush, long version, he's not 3 yet, that'll be in 2 weeks, he recited the Kiddush. Tears, little, big, huge tears, rolling down my face. So I realized this is how Jewish life endures. He watched his mother and father, he watched his grandparents, he watched his teachers, the Vavim, in his life, demonstrate for him what it means to celebrate sacred time. It's how we build holiness in time. Not only through sanctuaries built in space, like the Mishkan, and not only through the sanctuary in time that we build each week through Shabbat, but through the quiet connectors between us, the Vavim, the connectors that bind one generation to the next. Perhaps that's what the Torah is teaching us all along. Holiness doesn't dwell in structures alone. It dwells in the connections between people, between generations, and it takes each and every one of us. And because we close off the book of Exodus, we say, Chazak, Chazak, Benit Chazek. May we be strong, and be stronger because we are together, because we're unified, because we have vision, and because we are all Vavim, important and essential to creating our beautiful Jewish community. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Thank you. The Vavim? I think so. There are.
Thanks, Rabbi Robin.
You are
That was fabulous.
Thank you, Richard.
And Vavim, when you said Vavim, you said, who is Vavim? My first name that came to mind was Nancy. But Vavim,
I'll be right back.
No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Hello there,
Hello, how
stranger.
are you? Take care of yourself.
All right. So I have in my book a place mark.
Yeah?
And it's for next week's parashah. And the place mark is the invitation to your son's wedding. Good morning.
Oh, my.
And I looked at it and I go, that's 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's just-
every
yes.
year.
And he's on Facebook because he was raising some money. He's going to Camp Jenny
Oh, wonderful.
as a volunteer.
That's marvelous.
And so he made his goal.
Good, good. You guys were marvelous last night. I gotta go get the challah.
Randomly, I came up
But maybe that's why God asked them to take those same materials and build it, because they go, well, you take something that was other
It takes place in the first century where Jesus is alive and walks the street. And it's a fantastic first person story. When you say Hatzor and you describe it in code, there are references in that book that I envision temple or court, but the word.
That was a wonderful lesson. And your lesson was, and I was thinking as you were talking about it, how just for the most part, the women in our community who make Shabbat dinner, who make Passover Seder,
Let me grab my thing. I got a couple of.
and I learned, and it was very interesting. We had my brother's.
3-year-old, we have a 3-year-old grandchild.
Yeah, no, but I was thinking about the fact that my sister-in-law is Chinese, born in China. My brother's from. She grew up with no religion. They had one child.
Perfect.
And eventually,
Thank you.
Excuse me. Yeah, yeah.